Good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Ferrugia, the publisher of The Day and TheDay.com. I want to thank all of you for coming tonight to hear the second of the planned State Senate and State House forums that we are conducting around the region. Tonight features a forum with State Senator Andrea Stillman, the Democrat, and her challenger, Mike Doyle, the Republican. We did one of these last week in Groton. We had a very good crowd out. It was a terrific discussion and a lot of good questions from the audience. This is the first time that we have tried doing something like this this year. We historically have brought the candidates in individually, sat them down for one-on-one interviews with the editorial board, and based our editorial endorsements largely off of those interviews. 2 years ago, we brought in a group of Senate Democrats and Senate Republicans, and then another group of House Democrats and another group of House Republicans. And it was a great discussion and forum. So this time around, we decided to open it up, bring the public into it, and allow everybody a front row seat to listen to the candidates talk about the issues. I just want to say one more thing. Tim Cotter, who's our managing editor, the gentleman there with his arm raised, has index cards, and he's been passing them out. If you have questions you'd like to pose to the candidates, tap Tim on the shoulder, or he'll be coming around passing out the cards. Get them back to him. He will bring the cards up to Paul Schwanier, who I'm about to introduce. He's the editor of our editorial page, and he's going to be the moderator for tonight. So thank you again for coming to this event, and I'm going to turn it over to Paul. Paul?
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm going to ask you to withhold any applause, comments and such till the end of our event, and allow the candidates plenty of time to answer the questions uninterrupted. Tonight's forum features the two candidates for the 20th State Senatorial District, which consists of New London, Waterford, East Lyme, Old Saybrook, Montville, Salem, and Basra. I apologize if anyone showed up here at 5. I know we had an advertisement on the last minute today that got the time messed up, so anyone who got here early, my apologies. Newspapers do that occasionally. All right, so we're going to start right off with 90-second introduction comments from our two candidates, and we're going to start with the challenger, Mr. Doyle.
Thanks, Paul. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming this evening. This is a very important election this year, as we all know. A lot of questions are going to be answered on the future of our state and our nation. I want to thank The Day and TheDay.com and Gary and Paul for acting as our moderator for this event. My name is Mike Doyle. I was born and raised here in the 20th Senatorial District. I've lived here all my life. I've seen firsthand the issues that face our families, our schools, and our businesses in this 20th Senatorial District. I believe that the 20th District deserves a senator that understands that we need jobs in this district, not more rhetoric. We deserve a senator that understands that the taxes are already too high, and that at the time when families and businesses are tightening their belt straps, it's about time that the state of Connecticut does the same. We deserve a senator who will work 12 months a year to listen to your concerns and bring your voice to Hartford. That's why I'm running for state senator in the 20th Senatorial District. And I don't believe that we have that right now. So I look forward to this debate. I look forward to talking about the issues over the next 61 days because it's crucial to the development of southeastern Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you. And Senator Stillman.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrea Stillman. I'm the state senator of the 20th District, and I want to thank the day for giving us this opportunity to present our views on issues that are of importance to you. And I also want to thank the City of New London, specifically the Senior Center, for hosting tonight's event. Just to clarify my background, in case folks don't know me, I'm currently serving my 4th term in the State Senate after serving several in the State House. I currently serve in a leadership position. I'm a Deputy Majority Leader. I'm the Senate Chair of the Education Committee. And I'm delighted to say that this past term, working alongside Governor Malloy, teachers, the State Department of Education, and members of the legislature, I was instrumental in writing the landmark education reform bill. Also during this term, I wrote a bill addressing school bullying issues, which we know we hear about and unfortunately can have tragic outcomes. I've also worked and passed legislation on banning the sale of synthetic drugs to protect our children. This past session, we passed a bipartisan jobs bill, and I know that my membership on the Eastern Workforce Investment Board was helpful to understanding the issues around job creation, as well as my being a small business owner in New London for 37 years. We increased state aid to municipalities this past term. We also cut the budget by $3 billion, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
All right. We're going to keep this to about an hour. One, because that's what we're doing for all the candidates. We want to be consistent. And two, we get everyone home either to go watch the football game or the convention, whatever your preference might be. So the first question tonight is going to our challenger, Mr. Doyle. And we got a few questions on this topic submitted by our audience. And quite simply, boiling it down, what are you going to do to try to generate jobs in Connecticut?
Well, I actually have a plan for southeastern Connecticut, and it involves the transportation sector. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the opportunity here in eastern Connecticut to bring thousands of jobs here. Right here in New London, we have a small business, a gentleman that owns a building right along the railroad tracks. An appropriation of $63 million will open up the railway from New London to Worcester. It opens up the railway to Yukon, to the casino, and most important, the State Pier. We fixed that State Pier because we needed to, because we wanted to bring jobs to southeastern Connecticut. We haven't done it. I haven't been there for 18 years in a leadership position. That's one thing I will fight for. To bring jobs, open up our State Pier, bring industry in here. We have that capability, and we should be doing that today. It's waited too long. And we need to get something moving in this area. That's not even going to benefit southeastern Connecticut. It's going to be from Rhode Island all the way over to Old Saybrook area. So that's one issue. If we really want to do something, we could create jobs by appropriating some additional funding for I-95. Because guess what? That's one of the most dangerous sections of that highway. Try driving it any weekend evening. Bumper to bumper. Now it's going to be costly. It is going to be costly. But if we're going to open up southeastern Connecticut to tourism, to industry, for jobs, then we have to be proactive towards this stance. We can't wait another 18 years. We have to do that today.
Thank you. Senator Stillman, job creation.
Surely. Thank you.
And that mic is live if you want to use it.
Okay. I was instructed earlier to the fact that we should be sitting and answering questions, so please excuse me if I'm not standing up. But I'm sure you can hear me. I have a degree in speech, so I think you can hear me. You know, this is a question that we're all talking about, certainly an issue that we're all talking about in Connecticut. And the state legislature has addressed that on a bipartisan basis. Job creation. This past 2 years, we passed a bill that will grow jobs, not just here in southeastern Connecticut, because I truly think it will help southeastern Connecticut, but throughout the state of Connecticut. You know, when you serve in the state legislature, you work really hard and focus on the needs of your district. And the 20th district is made up, or will be made up, of 8 towns. It's currently made up of 7 until after the election. But we have to keep in our minds the fact that when we pass legislation on a state level, that for the most part, especially around job creation, it's what can we do to create jobs in the state of Connecticut. We have, in this past budget, authorized more money for Shoreline East, so we can start to grow that rail line into points north into Rhode Island. Of course, we need an agreement with Rhode Island to do that, and beyond that, we would need an agreement with Massachusetts if we're going to go all the way up beyond those 2 borders. Many years ago, I had the opportunity to pass legislation that provided about $10 million to design widening of I-95. It's my understanding that the DOT is working on that. But designing, expanding a highway, whether it's a new one or an existing one, certainly takes many years. It also takes federal dollars. And so we need a push not just from the governor's office, and I truly believe the governor has been working on this, but also we need dollars from Washington, because our transportation projects are funded 80% by federal dollars. And we want to make sure that that happens, that the money that we send to Washington comes back here to Connecticut in as great a degree as possible. But the jobs bill that we passed,
Well, why don't we give the...
oh,
maybe we could-
okay.
So we can get to a lot of questions.
Sure.
But I don't know if you want to respond.
I would. Yes, the legislature has created jobs. Mrs. Stillman has voted for jobs in Connecticut. Approximately $30 million to Jackson Laboratories for the creation of 34 jobs. This is where your tax dollars are going, ladies and gentlemen. We have to be more fiscally conservative and a watchdog of where that money is going. We can't afford 34 jobs. You know, I can send out a mailer like this with jobs also. Except you got to back it up. And you got to back it up for your district, because this is the district that you represent. The state district is second. So you represent the people of this district, and that's the people that I want to represent.
And Senator Stillman, there has been criticism of the Jackson Labs. I think the figure is approximately $300 million for 300 jobs, talking $1 million a job. If you could, briefly address why you supported Jackson Labs and that question about it.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Certainly, the Jackson Lab project will really help to grow jobs beyond the Yukon Health Center, where the laboratory will be. It's a $291 million state appropriation, and it will also receive, that's in state contribution. It will have over $800 million in private contributions for the Jackson Labs project. They have to meet a benchmark for jobs. At the minimum, it's 300 jobs. Otherwise, they lose the loan that they are taking out, that the state is giving them to help build this laboratory. I'm very excited about Jackson Labs. I think that it will help us grow a bioscience corridor here in Connecticut between New York and Boston. We can look forward to collaborations with Yale University, with UConn, and with any other universities that wish to collaborate with Jackson Labs. It's also very clear in the work that we have done in the legislature. And by the way, this did receive some bipartisan support, that it would create about 900 construction jobs and 7,000 permanent jobs when you look at the spin-off of the jobs that are created. Thank you.
And maybe last word before we move on to the question, Mr. Doyle, and just the argument of the state investing directly to encourage a business to locate here. Do you have a different approach, or, what is your issue with that?
Well, I could take $300 million and put it to small businesses here in New London and right down to Old Saybrook and Bosbury and Montville. And that would be a better resource because they represent 85% of our workforce in this country. If you want to stimulate the economy and create jobs, you do it with our small businesses. Walk up and down Bank Street. Walk up and down State Street. Talk with the businesses. That's what they're telling me. Mike, I'm going to close in January if I don't get some help. I can make it, but I need just a little help to get over that. So I would take $300 million, invest it in the small businesses, the mom and pops, the people just like you and I, and put it there and create jobs and stimulate the economy here in the 20th district. I don't care what goes on up there with Jackson Laboratories. It's no jobs for Eastern Connecticut.
All right, thank you. All right, let's move on to the next question, which goes to Senator Stillman. And again, we've gotten a few questions on this topic, and it's the property tax system. We're in a city right now that's wrestling with high property taxes, trying to decide what is an adequate level of spending. Do you see any need for property tax reform? And if so, what might you propose? And Senator Stillman, you get first crack at the property tax question.
Yes, thank you very much. Property taxes are always an issue in every election. We all know that we don't like to pay them, but we know that they are crucial to providing resources for our communities. In terms of the property tax issue and in New London, I'm well aware, I had a business in New London for 37 years. I'm well aware of the issues that New London is having in terms of having enough revenue to support the city. I will say that much of that has to come from decisions that your local elected officials make as well. Right now, the state sends an extraordinary amount of money to New London for such a small city, and I believe that's because of the work of the delegation that serves New London, as well as the fact that because New London is considered a distressed municipality, it receives most of its education money from the state, which is certainly appropriate. In terms of education here in New London, as in many cities, it's usually the biggest driver of spending within a community. We have to look at reforming our property tax system. One way to do that is for the state of Connecticut to assist, going back to education for a moment. I've been an advocate for the state paying the full cost of special education. That's a state mandate. It's also a federal one, but it's a state mandate that the communities have to pay. The state has to provide money for education, period, but the communities obviously have to contribute towards paying for special education, and yet I believe that's one mandate that the state should pay the full freight on. That would save communities a lot of money. We need, from the governor's office, we need to prioritize the property tax issue. We need to work with the governor's office to help lower property taxes. And that's something that I will continue to work on and continue to look at with members of the legislature and see what we can do to address that issue. But certainly, that is a focus, as it always has been, for property tax reform.
All right, Mr. Doyle, property tax reform.
Well, we wouldn't need such a large appropriation from the state if we didn't have the largest tax increase in the state of Connecticut. I pay my taxes here in New London. However, if we fix the unfunded mandates that the legislature keeps passing, we wouldn't have to worry about this. We could survive on our tax rate. Once the city and their administration gets a grasp on the funding and the spending here in the city, because that's the key element. Funding and spending. We have beautiful homes along Pequot Avenue that get taxed 4 and 5, 6 times over. Why? Because they get a water view? Shouldn't be fair and equitable for every citizen in this entire district? Unfunded mandates is the solution. Education. Yes, education is a huge 80% of everyone's budget. And we do receive a large appropriation from the state. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've sat through board meetings. When we have a master come in at $200,000 to read and help run our Board of Education for political reasons, that's wrong. Political reasons. We have kids graduate. My 17-year-old daughter just graduated last year, or in June. She did very well. We have kids learning in the city of New London, in this whole district. We need a senator that's going to be here and responsive to the people of the district. Not to the governor, not to the leadership, but to the people of this district first. What do you want in Hartford? You need a voice. You need to have communication and not just do whatever your leadership wants you to do. That's part of the problem. If we cut the spending in Hartford, get the unfunded mandates out of here, we can make things work.
The next question is to you,
May I respond?
if you could briefly, because you both
I
got
will.
a lot of time on that, but if you could.
I will respond briefly. Number one, the tax increase has already been proven to as large as it was. It is a myth that it's hurting the middle class and working families. The income tax increase really amounted to folks, let's say, who earn between $75,000 and $275,000 a year, between 21 cents a day and $1.37. Granted, it hurts, but we inherited 2 years ago a $6 billion deficit. And if you want to close the deficit and still provide services, especially to those who need the services, but to build our roads and provide education and provide social services and help the elderly, then we all have to pitch in and help close the deficit. And that's what we did. We cut the budget by $3 billion over the biennium. We were very lucky that we had a good relationship with the employees of the state of Connecticut. It had some bumps in the road, but we were very lucky. We were able to garner concessions, which helped to cut the budget as well. And so that's how you balance a budget. You look at your spending and you reduce it, and you see what you can do to fill in the gaps. In terms of a special master for political reasons, that almost doesn't deserve an answer, quite frankly, because we all know that there's an achievement gap, not just here in New London, but in many of the cities and towns throughout the state. And it was the decision of the State Department of Education to have a master come into New London and help the school board members, superintendent, the teachers, to work together. And I believe that the special master, who's also working in Wyndham and has been successful there, I believe that this new collaboration will help to move the city's educational system forward. They have done a great job. We were all pleased with the test scores we saw this past year, and I'm delighted that your daughter's doing so well. I want every child to do well. But the reality is sometimes we need a little help, and this is a way to provide some help. Thank you very much.
fair is fair, Mr. Doyle. If you want an opportunity to respond, one, Senator Stillman says the tax increases are reasonable and needed to balance the budget. And two, the special master is money well spent to help the northern
First,
schools. Your
first,
response.
the increases. Why did we have to increase taxes 3 times, and we're still in a deficit situation? Can anyone answer that? If we're doing the right thing in Hartford, and we're controlling spending, why are we in a deficit situation? And then we raise taxes not once, not twice, 3 times, and we're still in a deficit. And even the Senate House chairman of the Education Committee, when they passed this landmark legislation, was on the evening news that night saying, I don't know where the $300 million to $350 million is going to come from. Channel 3 News. So ladies and gentlemen, there are lots of unanswered questions. But here again, do we want a senator that's going to represent your needs and your concerns about what's going on in Hartford? Mrs. Stillman's been there for 18 years. We need change. If we're going to fix the problems, we need to change. She's not part of the solution, she's part of the problem in Hartford. And that's why I want to go there to help change it. I'll work with anyone, both sides of the aisle. It doesn't make a difference. It's in the best interest of my district, I'll do that.
All right, let's move it along. Next question, Mr. Doyle. It appears that you're advocating for cutting the size of government, and this questioner wants to know, if you try to make government smaller, what are the areas that you would cut?
Unfunded mandates. It's simple, folks. That's what's killing our communities. The state is passing along mandates to our Board of Education, to our municipalities. You name the issue, prevailing wage. It's all part of the problem. We're not creating any jobs in this state. Our education system, yes, we want to improve our education for our children. However, go to UConn. Look how many students are leaving the state in fists. They're out of here. Because Pfizer's leaving, because they can't get the right skilled labor from here. They're moving to Boston because they got it up there. We don't get it. We have to create and do what we have to do to keep our kids here. Number one, it's going to help in taxes. It's going to help with businesses. Because once you have a skilled labor force, they'll come. We're losing everything around us right now. Pfizer's going to leave. What we're going to do then? You know, we really have to think proactive of where this state and where this district is going, and I hope to do that in November.
Senator Stillman, if you want, you could respond to that contention that it's the mandates that the state imposes that's the problem for taxpayers, and Mr. Doyle says that's where he'll cut.
Thank you. I appreciate that question. I think that's a question that everybody asks and wonders about. We haven't passed any. We've been very careful about the unfunded mandates we've passed for the last 5 or 6 years because we understand that the burden that it places on communities. But we also understand that we need to do all we can. Since Mr. Doyle mentioned education and skilled workforce, we have to do all we can to make sure that we can continue to have skilled workers here. And let's be really clear about why Pfizer's leaving. Their 10-year tax credit's up, and they don't want to pay the taxes. That's really what it is. And that really is, as someone who used to be a fan of Pfizer, that really disturbs me. And someone who voted, and Mr. Doyle would know this because he worked for John Rowland at the time, Mr. Doyle knows about the tax credits that Pfizer got to keep them here. And so let us not forget that the real reason Pfizer's leaving is the deal has gone away. But the other reality is that the business that Pfizer is in has changed dramatically. I truly think that if we had addressed the issue of a bioscience corridor here in Connecticut under a previous administration, under the Rell administration, let's say, because she was the last governor in office for many years, if we had addressed the bioscience corridor expansion, I think we might have had an opportunity to keep Pfizer here. But they've done it in other states, and that's where they're going to go, because that's where the bioscience industry wants to put its money now. It's not here anymore in buildings, and it's very sad. And it troubles me when I get calls from my constituents who say, you know, I used to work for Pfizer, I just got laid off, and I'm looking for an opportunity. Do you know of anything for me? Can you direct me somewhere? I want to stay here because I like Connecticut. My children go to school here. I'm part of the community. And that's why I think the Jackson Labs proposal will help people in this area be able to attain new employment. We'll be able to keep our graduates from college to come here, to stay here, because we'll have real meaningful jobs for them. And so, you know, this issue about Pfizer leaving, we're all disappointed about that. I'm pleased that EB got a fire sale on the building so they could at least expand. That's one bright light here, is engineering. So, yes, unfunded mandates are a problem. Yes, we are addressing them in Hartford. Yes, we don't vote for as many as we used to. And I think, while I have the microphone for a moment, I just wanted to make it clear about the fact that we do have to continue to work on job creation. And as we talk about small businesses, our jobs bill actually provided for a program called the Step Up Program, which will help provide businesses that are 50 employees. We've now increased it to 100 employees, understanding that they are small businesses as well in today's economy. And we've set aside $100 million to help them grow jobs, to help subsidize them for the first 6 months so that they can grow their companies. And do you know that last February, when I was at a meeting of the Workforce Investment Board, a representative from the Department of Economic and Community Development said, since we passed that bill last October, which was the first part of the jobs bill, DEC had helped that agency had helped over 400 companies grow their jobs. And so I do think there's great opportunity. Thank you.
Mr. I'd like to respond. We kind of morphed into a Pfizer question, and the senator seemed to make the argument that it's inconsistent to be against the Jackson Lab investment, bioscience, and yet complain about loss of jobs at Pfizer. So you can kind of
Well, first,
explain
let
your
me
position.
just say something really quick. How many jobs are in Eastern Connecticut in the 20th Senatorial District? Helping our district, the people that elected us to office. And let me say something right now. Corporate welfare, that has to be totally revamped in the state of Connecticut. When we have the chairman of Pfizer's making $90 million a year with stock options. Ladies and gentlemen, when you go to school and you learn business, you learn that you take your profit, you reinvest in your company. Every business owner in this room and around our district does that. Why are we not reinvesting, and why are the taxpayers investing in corporations? I don't want to lose Pfizer, but they go up to Boston, outside of Boston, there's a pool of people from Harvard, from Boston College, right there. And I'm sorry that Governor Rell didn't put through the bill that we could have done this. I wasn't there. Senator Stillman was there. We need to make sure we can create jobs here at home first. And that's what you'll hear me say this for the next 62 days. Because that's the important thing. It's Barbara getting a job, Larry getting a job, Jason getting a job. That's what's crucial to this district. And we are the people that are electing a senator. Not Hartford, not Bridgeport, not Stanford, although Stanford's getting plenty of tax dollars from the governor now. And why is that? Why is Eastern Connecticut the stepchild? We don't get nothing out here. Why is that? Because we don't have the representation in Hartford.
Okay, I'm going to try to move it on. This being New London, I got a couple of hardball questions, and I'm going to give one to each of you to be fair. I think Senator Stillman, it's your turn, and the question was, is it true you live here only most of the year and spend a portion of the year in Florida?
Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. That must be from you.
I didn't write any questions.
Yeah, right. Let me clarify something. You know, this is really comical. Because a couple sells a business, that means you leave. I love this area. Why would I run for re-election? I work in Hartford 12 months a year. And if you want to see my schedule, I'd be happy to show it to anyone who would like to see it. I represent the 20th District. I live here. I have no designs on moving anywhere else. I think the question is insulting. But on the other hand, it gives me an opportunity to address a rumor that's out there that absolutely has no basis. And with that, I live in Waterford. I represent 7 towns. I would like to represent 8 towns because Basra is joining the district. And I look forward to continuing to do that, to continue my leadership in Hartford. Thank you.
And your turn, Mr. Doyle. To be fair, since you were a top aide and confidant to the notorious Governor Rowland, why are the citizens, taxpayers of the district should trust you with the state's business?
Well, I can answer that question very well. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I worked for John Rowland as director of his Eastern Connecticut office. And each day, I worked with the businesses of Eastern Connecticut in all 65 towns. I represented the people of this district with the governor. And Mrs. Stillman knows that quite well, because I saw her and worked with her while she was a representative and a senator. In the naming of the state pier, when we redid that project, I have a strong commitment to listening to the people of my district or wherever I am. I listen and I react. I had a lot of things accomplished through the years, working with our state agencies, working with our representatives in a bipartisan effort. Never once was it a partisan issue. My office was open to every single person of this district, all 65 towns. So if someone wants to say, yes, I did work for John Rowland. But you know what I'm really proud of? Is that I got to serve the people of the state of Connecticut for 12 years and represent them and bring a message to Hartford, to the governor's office. Was able to do projects and make things happen here. So I'm proud of that record. I will never stand down on that. Because that is me, and that's what I'm going to be as a senator. I'm going to be a listener, and I'm going to get the job done for you in Hartford.
All right, back to the issues. Mr. Doyle, your turn. The question is, do you support the Affordable Care Act? And if not, would you discourage the state of Connecticut from cooperating with the creation of the health exchanges and other steps necessary to implement it?
If it's going to help our senior citizens and the people who are less fortunate to have a job, who are on state assistance, and right on through the ball, we have to help those who are in need. Now I can stand here and say, yeah, I want to cut taxes, I want to do all these things in Hartford. But we can't risk health care. I know, I have medical issues, and I pay an astronomical amount for my health care. I don't know how seniors do it. We have to help our seniors. We have to help those who are less fortunate. But we can make that up in other areas in state government, because that's important. Just because someone has a leg down, we need to help them get up, get them a job. Maybe working in a state agency to help support their checks from the state. But we're not doing enough for our senior citizens. I'm here. I'm in East Lyme. I'm in Waterford. Those are the important people because they've put up and helped us when we needed it. They provided for our generation. And it's time now that we pay them back. So I want to see programs for our senior citizens expanded because, let's face it, with the cost of the taxes in the state of Connecticut, our economy, the things coming out of Washington, that's what we need to do. We need to take care of our elderly. I don't have any more parents around. They're all gone. But if I can help 2, 3 people a day get onto the system, get medical, whatever it takes, then I'm going to succeed. And that's important because we can't let our seniors just waste away.
But before we hear from the Senate, just to clarify, it sounded like the question wanted to know whether you support the Affordable Care Act and would you do anything to try to work for it or against it as a state senator?
I would support it. I would not go against it because, like I said, we need the opportunity to provide. Healthcare is, ladies and gentlemen, I just got 2 prescriptions the other day. It's a 90-day prescription, and it was $3,600. How do our seniors do this? I don't know the answer to that. But we, as leaders, we need to figure that out and make sure they can get their medications. Especially if the Washington and the whole question down there with Obamacare, if it doesn't work, well then we need to come up because we need to take care of our people here in Connecticut.
All right, thank you. I just want to clarify that. And Senator Stillman,
Yeah.
if you want to comment on the question.
Thank you. I appreciate the question. Yes, I do support the Affordable Care Act. I do believe that the state is, I believe, might be the first, within the first few states that actually has already received federal money to establish our health exchange. I think people who've followed my career in the legislature know how I feel about helping those who can't help themselves. Certainly health care is a right that everybody should have. We shouldn't be cherry picking who gets health care and who doesn't. So I do support the Affordable Care Act. I do support the health exchanges. I think once those health exchanges actually are established in, I believe it's in 2014, then I think we'll see some savings in our budget. It's from what I have just recently seen and doing some research on this, it will be easy access really for people to decide who they want to pick to provide their health care for them, which provider, it's really what they are. So, and because we are moving so quickly, I think we're going to see more insurance companies take an interest in the state of Connecticut, and it's my hope that that competition will bring down the costs even more. Thank you.
Thank you. The Barron's, the economic publication, really recently came out with its rating of the various states, and this is to Senator Stillman. Your turn to take the question. And that report listed Connecticut dead last in terms of its indebtedness and its unfunded pension obligations. And so the question is, what does the legislature and the governor, what have they done to try to address that situation? What needs to be done?
Thank you for the question. I do have a similar article from the Connecticut Mirror about Barron's opinion. It's a financial weekly that's published by the Dow Jones. And yes, Connecticut is one of many states, as we know, that has this growing debt. I will say that Connecticut is starting to make additional contributions to our pension plans in both for general government employees as well as our teachers. This year, one reason why we ended the year with what I would consider a small deficit, because it's under 1%, I think it's about 0.5%, according to the comptroller. But one reason why we did that was because of the extraordinary costs in Medicaid for our residents who are in need, and also because we stepped up our payments towards our pension plans for our employees. Well, they are underfunded. There's no doubt about it. For years, the legislature has, raided the fund a little bit, let's be honest. But we have an administration and a legislature that is making every effort it can to reverse that trend. And I think we will continue to do so. Most important, we want to make sure that none of our municipalities go bankrupt as well. So we have to keep a close eye on the debt. And the debt is because we know this is not a great economy. And yeah, we're not creating jobs fast enough, but we are putting putting programs in place to create those jobs. And that will certainly help. As we have more and more people working, they will certainly be able to participate in helping to reduce our debt, because along with a job comes paying taxes.
If we could, Mr.
So,
Dolich
thank you.
answered that question. What would you do? What needs to be done if you're in Hartford to reduce this large debt the state has and the unfunded pension mandate?
Well, the unfunded pension is a severe problem because the legislature, over the years, has continually robbed Peter to pay Paul to the tune of $800 million. Ladies and gentlemen, $800 million. Maybe if we wasn't spending $300 million on Jackson Labs, or almost $1 billion on the completion of a bus route from New Britain to Hartford,
For that.
we could be paying down our debt, but we're not. It's the frivolous spending in Hartford that's the problem. That's what we have to address. And I would suggest that maybe we really got to start counting the pennies, and where, if the funds are not available right now, we shouldn't be doing no more bonding. Mrs. Stillman sat on the bond commission for many years. We don't need no new bonding because we're not getting our money's worth back. Where is $300 million going to bring more jobs? Because the outcome is going to be the same, 34 jobs, not 300. That's the construction jobs and everything else. That's not working. So maybe we should stop robbing Peter to pay Paul. Now this is the teachers union, this is the state employees union, this is all of this. It's not solvent right now. If every state employee were to retire, we couldn't fund it. And that's a problem because we have 50,000 loyal state employees. They do their job. They answer the phones. But we got to cut back.
Senator Stillman,
Yes.
any rebuttal?
Yes, I would like to add a few comments to that. First of all, we don't have 50,000 state employees anymore. It's more like 45,000 because many of them took the early retirement in terms of the concessions. And we know very well we can't run a state of Connecticut without employees. In terms of bonding, we're back to a 2004 level in bonding. And we are one of 3 states in the country that actually bonds school construction. You wouldn't have the beautiful buildings that you have in New London now if you didn't have some help from the state. In terms of this past project for elementary schools in New London, if it wasn't for the work that I did in the legislature along with Representative Hewitt, Representative McCousher, you wouldn't have gotten such a large reimbursement for your school buildings. You got $10 million more than was originally expected. Because we've made some changes to the school district in New London, and I'm focusing on New London because Mr. Doyle seems to want to focus on New London. But in terms of New London, we were able to capture some more state dollars to help rebuild the schools in New London, which will go a long way towards helping, providing tools for our students and teachers so we can continue to improve the education system. But don't forget also that the bonding that we did also was to rebuild UConn. UConn has now become one of the top 25 schools in the country. It's a fine research institution that we can continue to build upon. So I wouldn't say that those dollars were spent inappropriately. I'm not sure I'm happy when the governor wants to fund some lights on a ball field or build a little pond somewhere in a town, but that's not my choice. There's discretionary monies that a governor has, no matter what governor it is. They set the agenda for the bond commission. But the reality is that those bond dollars can sometimes help those small businesses as well when they need a leg up, as Mr. Doyle has said. And through the jobs bill that we passed, we're going to be able to help 3,600 more small businesses get that help that they need through state resources. Thank you.
And if you want the opportunity, Mr. Doyle, the argument that a lot of the borrowing goes for schools and infrastructure.
I understand that, but let's not fool anyone either. Waterford just did all their schools over again. The other towns in this district are doing all their schools over again. There has to be a limit. Now if we maintained our facilities, it'd be much different. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been around the school system, I've been in municipalities, I've been in state buildings. We don't maintain our facilities. That's the problem. Maybe if we were being more managers of what's going on in the state of Connecticut, we would know that. The governor would know that. But that's, I'm focusing on New London. This district's a huge district. And I'm going to represent each and every town, not just New London, not no Waterford, but Old Saybrook and Old Lyme. Old Lyme is going through this right now also. So ladies and gentlemen, it's not just a quick answer like that. Because it really is, it comes down to spending, spending, spending. Now we don't want to short our kids. And our teachers have a hard enough job now. My brother's a teacher, and I hear it, what he tells me every day. So don't let anyone fool you. It's still, education is loaded with unfunded mandates. Matter of fact, money has sat in Hartford for months and years because municipalities lose track of it. No one's manding the store.
We're getting a little
That's the
far
problem.
afield, if you don't mind, Mr. Doyle.
Back up.
Okay. I think we talked about the mandates. Yeah, we had a question. You mentioned, I think it was the first question, we're talking about jobs, and you mentioned state peer, and the question is, what ideas or what plans would you have for state peer that the city and the state are not already pursuing?
Well, first of all, have you seen many ships come in lately? Lumber ships. We used to have, that pier used to be full 364 days a year. It's not no more. Transportation costs. Transportation infrastructure is a huge problem in this district. 395. Go up 395. It's not the same anymore. You could drive for about 10 minutes and not see a car a long time ago, but it's not like that no more. We could bring in the lumber. We could bring in merchandise that could be right on that rail line for $63 million. We could revamp that line from New London to Worcester. And then Massachusetts is responsible for their share. But that's how you open up a region, by bringing jobs. Longshoremen, bringing them in here. Bringing in the cruise ships if that's what we can do. I think we don't explore enough in what we can do. And this question's been going on for years and years and years, and there's no answers. Why? Why is that happening here? We need the leadership to pull the community leaders together and come up with a plan. Get DOT down here. Find out what we need to do on that railway. Invest that money and open up Eastern Connecticut. How about Route 11? You could take that $300 million, or the almost $1 billion, for that busway, guess what? We could finish Route 11. We could spend $63 million for jobs. If you're building Route 11, that's jobs. If you're redoing the rail line, that's jobs. Making Shoreline East part of the system, ladies and gentlemen, you can't get there from here. Only when we have Opsail in New London, because that's the only time we do that.
I'm going to move it on because we're getting a little far afield of
No,
State
not
Pier.
really.
Okay,
It's issues.
fair enough. State Pier.
Yep. Well, unfortunately, State Pier doesn't have as much product on the pier as it used to because, as we all know, the construction industry is not doing as well as we would like it to. It's my understanding that when I read some of the articles in the Wall Street Journal and the Hartford Courant, etc., that we're starting to see a slow uptick in building houses, specifically houses. So one of the reasons why we don't have lumber on the pier, we do have copper from times, wire products, etc., but is because of the state of the economy. You know, in terms of Shoreline East, we did appropriate some more money this year to expand Shoreline East. Expanding Shoreline East is not easy because we don't own the tracks. Amtrak does. You have to negotiate with them. You have to negotiate in good faith. And so it's great to sit here or stand here and say we should do this, this, and this. We are trying to do all these things, but contracts are complicated. In terms of Shoreline East, we are, as I said, devoting more dollars to expanding Shoreline East. And I have been a strong advocate for using our waterways. I mean, why not move goods up and down Long Island Sound from the New York area to New London, and then they can get on the highway? And as a matter of fact, the DOT is looking at that now in a more serious way than they did several years ago. You know, I'm a strong advocate for using the resources that we have to take advantage of what we have. And I think that would be one good way to help boost not just State Pier, which was the question, but also the shoreline area, specifically in New London, as we talk about moving goods up into New England. But this is also a measure of the economy. And as the economy improves, I certainly hope that we will have all those puzzle pieces in place so that we can take advantage of the improvements in the economy and continue to create jobs here in this area. Thank you.
All right, I think we have time for one more quick question, if we can kind of keep the answers to the point, because we're drawing to the close of our hour. And this might address, this perhaps came from one of the other towns. I know we've had a lot of New London questions. We're here in New London, but the question is, what should be the greater, and this is to Senator Silman, what should be the greater priority, preservation of farmland and open space, or driving economic development?
You know, that's a really good question. I think my record is clear that I'm certainly, I have a very strong environmental record on preserving open space and farmland. And as a matter of fact, as we talk about economic development and preservation of farms, would you believe it? In Connecticut, we have more farms now than we did a couple of years ago. And because we understand that farming is over a $3 billion industry in this state. And because of the investments we've made in preserving farmland so that it doesn't, so that its use doesn't become that of providing, the land doesn't become housing development, because we preserve those farms through making an investment in the state and helping those farms to continue, we've now beginning to see that the number of farms in the state of Connecticut are increasing. People are interested in buying organic food and going to farmers markets. We have more farmers markets than we ever had. That's economic development. So for anyone to think that you cannot have them go hand in hand, I think is foolish. There is a way and it's being proven that economic development, preservation of farmland and open space can work together, and it can work together to create a better quality of life for people and jobs and opportunity. So I think that's a great question, and I think it's indicative of what we're beginning to see, that the small investments we've made in farmlands and open space is now reaping economic development as well. Thank you.
Mr. Doyle, your chance. How do you balance the need or the desire?
One and the same. Economic development, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, try driving around any community in the district. Housing projects are popping up everywhere. We need to sustain, but here again, I'm going to go back to something. If our tax base and we weren't spending much in the state, we will be having more economic development. If we can get our budgets in line, they will come. It's been proven time and time again. So yes, I would encourage anyone, and I love the farmers markets. I do them every single week because it's, number one, I need to have fruit and all that stuff for me, but it's very important because it's a lost industry. I don't know how many dairy farms. I think we have one dairy farm, and it's not even in our district anymore. Or two dairy farms. One in Bozrah, outside of Bozrah, and former Representative Jack Tiffany's dairy farm. So it is an important culture. We can't lose our heritage, our culture, just for economic development. That's why it's a delicate situation. We have to have a balance.
All right, I think they agreed on something. All right, so that's our hour. We're going to give each candidate, starting with Senator Stillman and then Mr. Doyle, a minute to kind of sum up. We covered a lot of territory. So, Senator Stillman.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for attending this evening, and thank you to the day. I'm very pleased to be sitting here and ask for your vote to send me back to Hartford to continue to represent the 20th District. I believe I have a record of accomplishment, a record that not only addresses the issue of growing jobs, but I was also able to maintain state aid, which is crucial to our cities and towns. I have a strong environmental record. I have a strong education record. I've also enacted legislation to protect our consumers, and let us not forget our subbase. I've been instrumental in serving on those committees to protect our subbase as well. You know, and it's not easy in the legislature to represent your district when there are so many competing forces against you. But I believe I have done a very good job for the 20th District. We've been able to enact some new legislation which actually has sent more money to Ledyard and Montville that was taxed, if I put my glasses on I can read it, to phase in previously exempted tribal lands. So we're looking at a variety of issues. And I am here tonight, and for those who will watch this on the day, I'm asking for your vote again on Election Day in November. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Doyle, again, last word.
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming this evening. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Mrs. Stillman for her 18 years of service to the state of Connecticut. However, I don't know what Mrs. Stillman was thinking when she voted to raise your taxes time and time again over an 18-year period. I don't know what Mrs. Stillman was thinking when she voted to spend nearly $1 billion on a 9-mile busway from New Britain to Hartford, and we still have Route 11 unfinished in our own backyard. I don't know what Mrs. Stillman was thinking when she provided early release for violent criminals and at the same time voted to lay off state troopers, the people that are there to protect us. I don't know what she was thinking when she supported the $300 million for Jackson Labs and creating 34 jobs. I don't know what she was thinking when she presided over the legislature's education committee and our education systems are falling crumbling around us. Now, if you approve of the job that Mrs. Stillman, Governor Malloy, and Speaker Donovan are doing, if you think these are good policies, and you'd like to see more of the same, then I know how you're voting. However, in Hartford, we need to change. If you think it's time for our legislature to start supporting small businesses instead of crippling them with taxes and fees, if you think it's time to cut spending and lessen the tax burden on our hardworking families, or if you think the 20th District deserves a state senator who will live and work in the 20th District 12 months a year, to make
Let's wrap up, Mr. Dog. Going over time.
to make sure these issues most important to our district is giving you a voice in Hartford, then I urge you to support and vote for me on November 6th. Thank you and God bless.
All right. Good. Thank both our candidates. We had a vigorous debate, covered a lot of issues. Appreciate you all for coming out.
Thank you, Paul. Are we released?
You're released.
Getting early release? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
Well, I don't know if it was a pleasure.
Paul. Thanks. Yeah.
Very much.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
spirited
you.
discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much as well.
So what is it like for you? Football?
Probably more convention. Work obligation.
Think about that vote. Think about that vote. I know you do.
That 10 slot, it's 20 up to 10. It might be Biden too, I don't know. But everyone's talking about Clinton.
Exactly.
We need to come up with 34.